Chinese Covid-19 vaccine far less effective than initially claimed in Brazil, sparking concerns. CNN, a leading Chinese Covid-19 vaccine developed by Sinovac Biotech, was just 38% effective in late-stage trial in Brazil, significantly lower than earlier results showed, according to a statement published by the government of São Paulo Tuesday. While the number exceeds the threshold required for regulatory approval, it falls far below the 78% previously announced, raising questions as to the veracity for the data and fueling skepticism over the apparent lack of transparency regarding Chinese vaccines. Analysts said the efficacy rate of Sinovac's coronavac vaccine in Brazil, the lowest among its global competitors, could affect international confidence in Chinese-made vaccines and hamper Beijing's effort to recover its images from its early mishandling of the initial outbreak by providing COVID-19 vaccines to developing countries. Butantan Institute and government of São Paulo report that the coronavirus vaccine achieved a 50.38% overall efficacy rate in the clinical study conducted in Brazil, in addition to an efficacy rate of 78% for mild cases and 100% for moderate and severe cases of COVID-19, or rates higher than the 50% level required by the WHO, World Health Organization. The statement released Tuesday said the razor-thin margin for regulatory approval is likely to lead to concern among scientists, given that last week the Butantan Institute released the partial clinical efficacy result, celebrating 78% to 100% efficacy in preventing infections. The state body financed the phase 3 trial of the vaccine, which involved 13,000 health workers across the 8 Brazilian states. Regarding the overall efficacy of the analysts, we met the requirements of the World Health Organization with 50.38%. Ricardo Palacios, medical director for clinical research at the Butantan Biomedical Center in São Paulo, says Tuesday during a news conference. However, on Tuesday, high-ranking members of the Brazilian Health Ministry told CNN affiliate CNN Brazil that the effectiveness is borderline, and that because it's at the limit, we have to wait for Anvisa, Brazilian Health Regulatory Agency, to evaluate. Representative of Sinovac said the company is discussing the result but declines to give further comment. The final efficacy rate of the vaccine will be determined by China's drug regulator, the National Medical Production Administration, according to the representative. Potential stumbling block. Yang Zhonghua, a senior fellow for global health at the US-based Council on Foreign Relations, described the 50.38% efficacy of the Sinovac vaccine as the disappointing result that had caught him by surprise. The result suggests Coronavac is less effective than alternative vaccines developed by Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna, which have the efficacy rate of about 95%. Russia says its Sputnik V vaccine is 91% effective, while the UK's vaccines developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca has an average efficacy of 70%. The Sinovac vaccine is also less effective than its domestic Chinese competitor, developed by the state-owned Sinopharm, which it says is 79.34% effective. Despite the worse than anticipated result, Hong said the Sinovac vaccine would still be usable by helping to relieve pressures on healthcare systems while reducing potential deaths. Given its higher efficacy for moderate and severe cases that would require the medical treatment. However, its low overall efficacy could hinder Sinovac's ability to expand its market share globally, Hong said. Sinovac has signed deals to provide 46 million doses of its Covid-19 vaccines to Brazil, 50 million doses to Turkey, and 7.5 million doses to Hong Kong. It's also supplied 40 million doses of vaccine bulk. The vaccine concentrate before it's divided into vials to Indonesia for local production. Since many countries are planning to order or have already ordered the Sinovac vaccines, it might undermine people's willingness to take them because people may question the usefulness of the vaccines. Hong said it could be a potential stumbling block. Lack of transparency. Our lack of transparency has been a major concern clouding Chinese-made vaccines, which Chinese President Xi Jinping has pledged to make a global public good. Both Sinovac and Sinopharm have faced questions regarding the release of data. When announcing its efficacy result, the state-owned Sinopharm did not provide details on its clinical trial data, and Sinopharm executives said detailed data would be released later and published in the scientific journals without giving a timeline. There is also the issue of discrepancy in results from the clinical trials conducted in different places. Having largely eliminated the coronavirus inside its borders earlier last year, Chinese drug makers had to look abroad for places to test the efficacy of their vaccines, but the results reported so far are far from constant. Sinopharm's efficacy rate of 79%, for example, is lower than the 86% announced by the United Arab Emirates for the same vaccine in December. Sinovac's vaccine has had widely widely different results from three countries. Indonesia drug regulator says interim data for phase 3 trial shows that it is 65.3% efficient and give it the country's first emergency use approval. Turkey said it's 91.25% efficacy, and in Brazil, the two significantly different efficacy rates announced a week apart have further sparked question. Last week, Brazil's health regulator agency, Anvisa, told the Butantan Institute that in order to approve the emergency use of the vaccine, the global efficacy rate had to be made publicly available. Information the institute had not received at the time from the Sinovac, according to CNN Brazil sources. Anvisa will meet on Sunday to decide on two requests for emergency use of both the Coronavac vaccine and the Oxford University AstraZeneca vaccines. Domestic expectations. The news could potentially hinder China's own coronavirus vaccination drive to Hong World. China has inoculated tens of thousands of people with Sinovac vaccines since July under a government-approved emergency use program, which includes at least three Chinese vaccine candidates. In total, it has administered 4.5 million doses of coronavirus vaccine under emergency use and is planning to vaccinate 50 million people ahead of February's Lunar New Year celebrations. Chinese public health experts have repeatedly told the public they are confident that Chinese-made vaccines are at least as good as, if not better, than foreign alternative, Hong said. If people learn about this, they might start to question the safety and efficacy of the Sinovac vaccine or even other Chinese-made vaccines, Hong said. I think the government will need to do some convincing work on either those who have already taken the shot or are about to do so.